like I've been saying all morning, has a new series, an investigative series about vehicles that have been grounded. I mean, vehicles that were procured and after months running into years, we have not used them yet. Yesterday, we started with 350 vehicles procured by Maslock in 2016. They're still sitting there. Now, when he went to find out why, he found that the contract sum was inflated allegedly by an amount of some 18 million Ghana cedis. He did this simply by comparing the 2016 prices to the 2018 prices, and the 2018 prices are lower than the 2016 prices by about $30,000 in some cases. So that's where it started. Apart from that, we also found that when the new government came to power, after a year of negotiations, these monies were paid with a reduction of about $700,000 on the total amount, which of course you would agree with me is quite low. So yesterday we had Prof. Stephen Adair comment on this matter, and today we'll talk about the Ayalolo buses in a moment. But we had Prof. Stephen Adair comment on this matter. We played his comment earlier today, but it's just under a minute. Listen to what he said.
But I'm quite surprised because I'm not a lawyer, but if a contract is clearly, as it appears, tainted with corruption, with about the price about 20,000 inflated
per bus.
Yes, I'm quite surprised that it's being paid at its face value, and the negotiation didn't make any difference. That's quite what's surprising. Is the contractual ones. I really am quite shocked that it's being paid on the face value without anything being done about the taxes, about the inflated prices. But I don't have the legal power or ability. It sounds to me too fishy, and it's not only part being fishy in the past, but too fishy now.
So that's Prof. Stephen Adair. Yesterday, we were in the office around 8 p.m. In fact, I was sitting right opposite Manasseh. And the current CEO of Maslock, Stephen Amwa, stormed into the Joy FM premises, the Joy News premises, with questions to the statement you just heard Prof. Stephen Adair make. He has a lot of objection and exception to what you just heard. Let's hear him speak. I interviewed him when he came. Let's hear him.
I found that to be extremely unfortunate that a whole professor could make this statement without laying his hands on the appropriate data that will inform his decision-making process. I think that was full of arbitrariness. At least you should find out, one, if anybody had interest in terms of monetary or financial, why will you go ahead and even allow the issue to go to court? Two, if two companies signs a contract, one to purchase number of items from the other, agreed on a figure and signed, and then the management of the company that is supposed to purchase those items hand over the company to another management, and the contract is binding, the new management is not supposed to pay. Is that what my professor is telling me as a young man? Please, I don't think it's everybody that is in politics that is interested in corruption. And it's unfair to say that a government that is claiming to protect government purse is very unfortunate. Me, I'm not a legal practitioner, but this is the note from Attorney General's outfit that the contract was valid and that we should go ahead and pay. It's here. Read it. Maslock entered into a valid contract with the two companies involved. The companies have delivered the vehicles and Maslock has taken possession of same. Maslock has failed and or refused to make payments to the companies involved in accordance with the provisions of the contract signed. Taking custody of the cars was done by the NDC regime, my predecessor. Signing the contract that is binding us today as a government to avoid any so-called judgment debt, that the same people would think we plan to do judgment debt and there was something fishy, was done by the NDC government, not us. So what are they talking about? It is very unfortunate. The NDC, that under their regime, they have increased one bus by about $30,000. This huge amount is not an issue to be giving the profound attention that we need as a people. Rather, somebody that a contract is binding his government or organization, that there could be judgment debt, the buses could have gone so bad or rotten, and then the same cost could have been quadrupled. Or making this decision, picking the right alternative to mitigate the cost that we might have incurred as a government. Our praise is that those who have inflated these figures by $30,000 each is not an issue. Please, I want to tell my professor again that there is nothing fishy. They signed a valid contract. The bone of contention was about the price of the cars. For 1 good year, we were renegotiating with the suppliers because they don't care. At least they have sold to you at a price that you have signed that you're going to pay them. You perform your part of the obligation. They had supplied the cars. What have we done? For 1 year, they even reduced. In fact, I'll bring the documents to you. And for others to say that NDC government signed the contract, but they didn't pay, we have come to pay. I can tell them the finance minister then had signed and given orders that they should pay about 37 million out of over 60 million amount, total amount. On the faith, the actual contract was signed on the faith, if they care to know. Please, I am so much disappointed in my professor.
The lawyers would argue that since you had sufficient grounds, as in you can name the increase in the amount, which some would say is unconscionable, and this issue of duties that were in the contracts for them to have paid but they did not pay, some would say that that was enough grounds for you to insist that you will not pay the amount stated in the contract.
If the duty issue you are talking about was legally reasonable enough to have not paid them, that's a different thing. My brother, we have been to school. Let's do analysis that everybody will understand. That one will not think it's being driven towards somewhere else. If you're talking about the duty and other thing, it actually constitutes more of legal issues. They wrote a letter, according to them, asking for a waiver or exemption. And according to the process, Parliament should have actually approved. Seriously speaking, when all the payments and other things had gone on, nobody knew. Initially, I didn't know. Because even those who were there that we talked to didn't know till when it got to the level that we go. Because to get even document is a very difficult issue. That we realized, oh, they had not. But whether they had paid taxes or not, the duty is not Maslock issue. It was between them and the GRE. They were supposed to pay duties. But whether the duty was issue or an issue, what I'm saying is that the contract, there was no way you could say that the government of the day couldn't have paid the contract. No. Because
Mr. Amoah, at what point did you find out that they did not pay import duties? You said you did not know that earlier. At what point did you find out?
We say that was latter part. Latter part, yeah. It was a big issue. We have tons of whatever cases and this rubbish we're going through all. But what I'm telling you is that it's not the most important issue, it's not what you're talking about. And I don't think even they're not paying the duty, it was in the contract that I shouldn't pay, I should pay. The fact is legally, Attorney General is the most reputable stakeholder when it comes to whether the contract was valid, we should pay or not. They've written emphatically here.
And that was Stephen Amoah. He is the CEO of Maslock. Now, let me just inform you that this interview degenerated after this point when we tried to find out a bit more details about when they got to know that the duties were not paid and how come they didn't go back to renegotiate after they got to know that the duties were not paid. And so, in fact, Manasseh even came in as a point because, like I said, he was sitting in the room with me to ask a question and we could not ask any more questions beyond that because it got very, very heated in the Joy newsroom last night. But Mr. Atabidu, you've heard the arguments made by Stephen Amoah that on two counts. In the first place, when it comes to the difference in prices and the fact that it was much higher, by about 80 million Ghana cedis higher, they still negotiated with the guys, Mark Ghana, and the Attorney General issued her advice that they should go ahead and pay because in the end the contract had been signed. And at the time that all these payment matters were going on, they did not know that they had not paid import duties when they should have paid according to the contract. So as a procurement expert, where do you sit on this? You think that the payment is in order?
Okay. So first of all, if Manasseh had played the full interview I did with him when he sought my expert opinion, you would have found out that I made mention of that in my initial interview with Manasseh. And I always like to start my conversations premised on a principle. Under common law and the law of contract, yes, when two parties sign an agreement, they are intended to be bound by it. So you have to pay. So I agree with him if he says we were bound by that agreement. But just as the two of them agreed on these terms, the two of them can agree to change the terms. So it is not cast in stone that, and the politicians should not tell us that the contract had been signed, so we couldn't do anything about it. If you are minded to do something about it, and you approach the other party, and you approach the party with facts enough to convince him to change his mind, the same two people can sit down and agree to amend it to suit the two parties. So it is not cast in stone. So question, yes, government inherited a contract. Government inherited a liability. They wanted to settle it out of court. How do you settle it? First, you need to do your own due diligence. I have worked in automobiles. I know about those vehicles. A vehicle, a successive version of a vehicle, usually would have been improved, because when they bring the first version out, they test it on the market, they take feedback. The subsequent year, they will make minor modifications. So when you see a model, that model look and feel same, would run for probably about 3 years before they'll change the design if they want to. Every year, you might find very minute changes to it. So the prices does not change significantly. If anything at all, they add features, and so the prices will go up. But because when the features remain the same, then they work at cost efficiencies, especially for Japanese vehicles. So that is the principle under which they produce vehicles. So it is strange that in 2019 or 2018, you'd find the cost of a vehicle being cheaper, far cheaper than what they quoted. That means something is wrong. So I would have expected Mr. Amoah and his team to have done that evaluation, to go back and ask that, why is it that as of now, this is your price you give, and this is the walk-in price that you give to an individual? Because you see, the funny thing is that these people think that Ghanaians are dumb. People are using the same vehicles for Uber today. If you ask any Uber driver, how much does this Sparklight cost? They'll tell you it's $9,000. That $9,000 is the cost, insurance and freight, the duties and taxes, and the profit margin. So if a government is buying 150 of them, there is no way the price should be more than the cost an individual will get with all the taxes. There's no way, unless you were minded to create value for the state. So the cost should have been lower. So now, if Mr. Amoah was minded to settle the liability, the quotation was in cedis. At that time, it was at a certain exchange rate. Now the cedi has depreciated. If you go negotiating and to settle, and you go and negotiate on the basis of a USD, which the supplier, I would do the same if I was the supplier, because I know that I would have made exchange rate losses here. So I would want to have a conversation around dollar and force you to pay me in dollar. So I would have forced all the exchange rate losses I would make, I would have passed it on to you.
Okay.
But that is tough luck. If they were minded to do good procurement and good negotiation, they'll say, tough luck. My liability to you is in cedi. We'll have this conversation in cedi. The question now is, why did you charge this and not that?
Okay.
But that means they should have done their homework.
Now, Mr. Asabedu, he negotiated with Mark Ghana for a year. There was a reduction in the price, but then again, if you compare it to the initial price, it was very small. He himself said it was irremarkable.
I have worked in the private sector. Mm-hmm. I have renegotiated contracts that had been done by my predecessors. into the millions of dollars. And at some point, it took me more than 18 months to get that done. And I had a strategy at some point that if I can't get you to yield, I will not pay you. I'll make you a proposition that this is what I'll pay. If you won't take it, let's go to court. Now, when you take a case to court, what you have done is removed it from your hands, the hands of the two parties. And you have left it to the judge to use, 1, common law, 2, the law of equity. So now the judge will take a common sense approach based on the argument I put. I would say, Papa Judge, I didn't say I won't pay. What I meant is I'll pay X because A, B, C, D, E, and that is why this is the right price I have to pay. It will be up to the judge or the jury to decide this is reasonable.
Isn't that a risk, considering the fact that we might incur judgment debts? Remember, the Attorney General advised that we should pay this money.
See, at the end of the day, if I don't pay, if I don't win, I would end up paying what I committed to. And because I hadn't paid when I should have paid, I would pay that amount with interest. So I would still pay anyway. But if you fight, at least you fought. Everybody will see that you sweated to try and save the state.
Right. Comrade Abedu is a procurement expert. He was giving us his expert analysis of the comments we just heard Stephen Amoah make. There's also the point to me that he did not know of the import duty thing. So in just a minute, after he found out, what advice would you have given him after he found out about the fact that they did not pay import duties when they should have?
You see, 1, if he had read the contract, and I made my comments yesterday on Joy News. I said that, listen, when you read the contract,
Okay.
The contract has the main body, it has the general terms and conditions, and the specific terms and conditions. The general terms and conditions has it in there that it is the supplier's responsibility to pay duties.
Okay.
So if you were minded to save us money, you would have pushed back and say, you know what, you want me to pay, this is the contract. The contract says you should have paid the duties. So bring me back the duties. And that would have reduced our cost. If you go into the specific terms itself, there was an error there in the sense that the specific terms had been designed as a frame by the lawyers, I want to believe, so that whoever was running a procurement exercise, when you have used the main body and you have used the general terms and conditions, now you would tailor the specific terms and conditions to suit the transaction that you are doing.
Okay.
But if you look at that document that is attached, that one itself is standard because the people did not tailor it to this particular transaction. So in this particular instance, we lost on a number of fronts. 1, a higher rate than normal was charged. 2, we didn't leverage on the scale, the volume, to negotiate the price down. And yet, we gave away duties and taxes. So we have paid as if the duties and taxes are included, and we have paid more than we should pay. And that is lousy procurement.
Comrade Abedu, procurement expert, giving us his expert analysis of the situation here. But we'll move on to the second leg of the conversation, which is the Ayalolo buses. 245 buses that have been grounded. Manasseh went to the field. This is what he gathered.
In 2007, the government of Ghana, acting on the World Bank report, initiated the Urban Transport Project to build a more decent public transport system in the urban centers. Samson Jamra has been part of the project since 2008.
The objectives of the project was to improve mobility in areas of the participating MFDAs. Then the participating MFDAs were in Gama and then in Kumasi and Ejiso.
In 2016, President John Mahama commissioned the urban transport system, a compromised form of the Bus Rapid Transit. The legal entity created to manage what became known as the Ayalolo bus system is the Greater Accra Passenger Transport Executive. Government imported a total of 245 buses for the Ayalolo project. Some of these buses have not moved since they came into the country in 2016. Those which were used for the pilot project have also been grounded.
The design of the Amasaman corridor required the use of 85 buses for the pilot.
Each of the Marco Polo low-entry city buses cost $251,600, making a total of $61,642,000. Together with the cost of developing the infrastructure, the project has cost Ghana more than $151 million or 742 million Ghana cedis. Out of this, only $7 million is a grant from the Global Environmental Fund. The rest are loans. The World Bank financed the infrastructural components of the project from 2008 to 2015. In an email to Joy News, the World Bank said,
in the post-completion assessment of the project, the bank rated the implementation performance unsatisfactory. The procurement of the buses by the government represented a deviation from the original plan of establishing a limited competitive regime for public transport operations along major routes. The project envisaged that the private sector operators would be responsible for providing the specified quality of buses for operations alongside designated routes based on the route license issued by the regulator. Government intervention of purchasing buses meant that the element of private sector initiative and investment in passenger transport in the bid to improve mobility is lost.
The World Bank says the business case that emerged assessed 80 buses as the initial requirement. However, the government bought 245, more than 3 times the number. The Ayalolo in its operation of the 68 buses has accumulated a debt of 12 million Ghana cedis. Now, it needs an amount of 20 million cedis to begin operations. But there is still a hurdle to scale, even if it gets the money. Our investigation revealed that interferences from politicians and government officials is the reason Ayalolo could not deal with trotro drivers who parked and loaded at dedicated Ayalolo bus lanes and bus stops. Until a solution is found, the buses will continue to waste away, and Ghana will continue to pay the loans with interest. For Joy News, Manasseh Azure Arena reporting.
Manasseh himself is with us here in the studio. This is still the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. So there are 2 key issues or 2 key questions that we have to answer. The World Bank, as you heard from the report, recommended that we purchase 80 vehicles because this is a pilot project. We ended up with 245 now. Number 2, this was supposed to be spearheaded by the private sector, with government providing the infrastructure. This was purchased by government with a loan, which we are still paying. Why were those 2 decisions made? And what is the impact of those 2 decisions? We'll answer those questions when we come back.
Now, this very moment, it's the pulse of possibility, potential, power. It's time
to make your move,
to take that step.
The time
is now.
Now. The great things you do tomorrow start with the small steps you take right now. So take that step with Old Mutual. Call us on 0302-230-638 and make now count. Old Mutual. Do great things every day.
If you buy gold, you will save money. Because gold lasts longer. If you paint your house gold, it will shine brighter. Because gold withstands all the elements. And gold protects you from microbial growth. And it's washable. And contrary to common belief, gold comes in every color your heart desires. So, invest in gold premium acrylic paints the next time you want to paint your house. Highly washable, long-lasting, with a wide range of products from acrylic paints to enamels, primers, stuccos, and more, all engineered to the highest international standards. Protect your home. Invest in gold.
Airtel Tigo spoiled them big time. Sir. Some new big time bundles view.
The only bundles I want hear about are bundles of cash.
So what about a bundle that gives you the most data on your 1, 2, and 5 Ghana Cedi bundles than anywhere else, and also gives you a whole 1.5 gig for only 10 Ghana Cedi?
Please, no network could give you that much data at that price.
Sir, well, Airtel Tigo does, and you even get a big 2 gig for the same 10 Ghana Cedis when you bundle directly from an Airtel Tigo scratch card or with Airtel Tigo Money. Airtel Tigo's new big time bundles do not expire. You can browse, sir. No more daily, weekly, or monthly bundles.
Crap! bad. How do I subscribe?
Dial *111#, select big time bundles and browse. Whether you're a new subscriber or an old subscriber, T's and C's apply. Get big time data from the network that gives you the most. Airtel Tigo.
Ma, I'm going to the bank to deposit some money. I'll be back soon, okay?
Kofi, with all that has been going on, are you still going to deposit money at the bank?
Oh, ma, don't worry at all. I keep all my money at the bank and it's safe. The Bank of Ghana has taken some bold measures to strengthen our banks and protect our money. This will ensure that the banks have more capital to do their business and are better governed so that they can protect the money we entrust to them. Banks will also be able to provide better services to their customers and support more businesses and the economy as a whole.
Wow, Kofi, that is very good. We should continue to keep our money in the banks and not take them to unlicensed institutions which promise us the moon and yet run away with our money. Kofi, go and deposit your money at the bank and come back quickly for your lunch. Their punchy cracker is almost ready.
Bank of Ghana, promoting a safer and resilient banking system.
Oh. And you know, my claim is not covered by the insurance policy I arranged.
Parkwesi, I've always advised you to let J&G Insurance Brokers, the insurance professional, handle your insurance to avoid gaps. At J&G, we analyze your insurance needs, we arrange cover with the best insurer with a track record of prompt claims payment, and above all, we facilitate and negotiate your claims. Call Dr. Gideon Amenyedo, the CEO, on 0244 333335 or 0504 333335. You can also email him, Gideon, at jinginsurancebrokers.com or visit our website, jinginsurancebrokers.com.
Thank you very much, Egenam. I'm calling doctor right away.
At J&J Insurance Brokers, negotiating a great insurance deal is our business.
Kofi, yankwada adiasa.
Mamina hakakra, enchemeba.
Entuntum wa hapao. Minji ndi sa opesa o yare biu.
Siti, me ya yare o. Mi ti Ode mesrew. Onko drasta ho onko pedro bi mreme.
Ade na wo ma yanko hospital. Eho de ye be hu ade pot na eyo na doctor ahweso ama wano aduru.
Eye pa se Kofi ko hospital ma doctor hwehunu de na eha no pote ma no aduru pepepe. Nipa bebre ne firi omu pemu koto aduru wo pharmacy shop wo bra won hwehwe hunu ade eha wo mo. We betimi di sunsun aso bone aba omo apomuden so. Enye fever bia na ye malaria.
Anti nurse ni maye malaria test no. Ane Kofi wo malaria ampa.
Doctor actually say Kofi mfa ACT.
Kofi bomodia se wo befa ACT eduro no. Se ni aya kire wo no pepepe.
Odo eye pa se e bae. Medro ni aka ni o. Manom se ni esi kire me pepepe. Na onim bribi.
Eji se wo ka kire me.
Efi ene ekọ no. Ye fi ha de ye ne malaria to kwanta ya pai kra.
Asem de. Na mama bi sa wo anadwi ehifa e na obeda.
Wa wunim medo se de mosquito net ayahye na drum eno nko ase ne beda abrabapa boni ye eye da bia adeyo enkan boy if we Ghana Health Service any USAID eho.
At Afrodan, we believe that many of the problems people have with their health is as a result of the way they sit. In other words, your chair can kill you. Here's Dr. Marcus Mann of the Chiropractic and Wellness Center.
What you have to remember is that the spine is the lifeline to your body, and posture is the window to that spine. Now, posture is affected by your daily activities and habits like sitting. That's why at the Chiropractic and Wellness Centers, we recommend what I believe to be the best chairs available for preventing not only subluxations, but also other health problems that you may not be aware of. And that's Rabami and Mobilex chairs. Unfortunately, on a daily basis, I have to correct the effects of this poor sitting habit in our businessmen and businesswomen. Always remember, optimal spine equals optimum health.
So, for the sake of your health, buy Rabami or Mobilex chairs from Afrodan. We're on the first floor of the Swansea Shopping Arcade. Telephone 663-085.
Super Morning Show.
I'm halfway. Once again. Once again. Once again. Once again. Once again.
passenger way. Nima, Ganeshi Chocho, Pussy Mintin, Baby Atongo Wobia, they take my Chocho. Hey, get it here. Enyo, I want to make one drivers. Why one gallon here? We are with the Simpia.
Passenger by Kofi Bento and the Western Diamonds. The Diamonds singing from the golden era of high life from my hometown in Takoradi. You know, I used to drive by where the Western Diamonds used to be. They are still there, actually. Pardon?
This is the Westline Hotel.
Yeah. Oh, not the Westline Hotel is different. This one is around New Site, on your way to New Site, if you come on. But we are talking about cars this morning. Grounded vehicles, 245 of them, which we have spent 61 million Ghana cedis on, and we are not using. 61 million
US dollars.
Thank you very much, which we are not using. These are the Ayalolo buses. Now, we have found from Manasseh's investigation that the World Bank recommended, first of all, it's led by the private sector so that this money is not spent by government, but we took a loan and we went to buy the buses. Secondly, that only 80 are bought because it's a pilot program and we bought 245. What went into these decisions? What's the impact of these decisions? Manasseh is here, Komnata Bedu is here to help us go into them. Your text messages are welcome on 0244 340437, and they are brought to you by Afrodan. Your back must last you a lifetime, and Glyco Travel Insurance Policy, we cushion you for life. Afrodan is offering you today the most comfortable chair in the world, period. The Nightingale Extreme Comfort Chair. It has over 10 thoughtfully engineered features, especially customized for your health and comfort. So go to Afrodan on the first floor of the Swansea Shopping Arcade and feel this chair. You will be amazed. Now, with over 30 years in the stationery business, Kingdom Books and Stationery now offers a 30-day credits facility with no interest charge. We deliver free within Accra, Tema, and surrounding towns. So call us on 0302 764 101 or 762 307 and visit kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, your number one stop shop for all office essentials, stationery, and furniture. Manasseh, let me begin with you. So what more do we know about this, and what do we know about what went into that decision and the politics behind it?
Well, nobody really knows. We tried to at least speak to some government officials in the past. It wasn't successful. But what we know from questions we sent to the World Bank, because we know the World Bank funded the project from 2008 to 2015, and we are looking at the infrastructure development aspect. And the project was designed in such a way that the government would assist in developing the infrastructure, and after that, license the private road transport users or unions to operate the various routes. What we also know for a fact is that according to the World Bank, there was actually a study, and the report concluded that bring 80 buses for the pilot. For whatever reason, we bought 245. Even with the 80, it was only, we were able to deploy only 68 for the pilot project, which started in December 2016. And by September 2018, the 68 buses we deployed incurred a loss of 11.9 million Ghana cedis.
That's in their operations.
In the operations. It started making about 4,000 passengers in a day. Then it grew up to 11,000. Then eventually sank to 3,000. And that's when they had to take the decision that the losses were just too much. When we spoke to the Ayalolo operators, what they said was that you would need about an average of 40 passengers in a bus to break even. That's if it lows. It would need about 40 passengers because each bus has a capacity of 85. But to break even, you need at least 40 in each bus. But I got to a time they were making about 22 on the average in each bus. And the reason is also another disturbing incident, that they had dedicated bus stops, and then a few meters to the bus stop or after, there are some dedicated lanes. But the trotro drivers started encroaching, and whenever they arrested them, there would be an order from the above. The politicians, government officials would call that released them. So the enforcement broke down. And so the Ayalulu buses had to go and now wait for a long time for the trotros to leave before they could get access to their own station. So people stopped patronizing them.
Because it wasn't given the rapid transport system that is promised.
No. Okay. Besides, we haven't even finished building the infrastructure. The Tudu terminal is still being constructed. The Adente one is still being constructed. Okay. So everything points to the fact that, look, we had to wait and do it the right way. But for whatever reason we cannot say, somebody was more interested in taking a loan and buying 240 buses, which are now parked at the bus terminal in Achimota, and there are 60 of them that have been taken to Kumasi to see if they could also
operate. So those are the main issues that we have raised. Unfortunately, we have just a few minutes to wrap up. So Mr. Tabedu, I would ask that you keep your comments in a minute. I mean, there are still more questions here, and this is not the only day we are dealing with this issue. Tomorrow we would bring you more on this story. So in a minute, Mr. Tabedu, where's your mind on this?
Okay, so first of all, the project had a worthy objective. If you look at the statistics, we have a case of about 90 vehicles, 90 vehicles per 1,000 people. The African average is between 20 and 30 vehicles per 1,000 people. So we're doing 3 times worse than what our peers in Africa are doing.
Okay.
Why is it so? Because we use a public transport system that revolves around small private sector owned vehicles. So we always have more vehicles on the road than we should have, especially into the CBD area.
Okay.
And that makes too many vehicles on the road slows traffic. Environmentally, it is not the best because you have higher emissions. So that is why they decided to do this. Now, what we have done is the World Bank lost interest in this because all those objectives have been lost because of the kind of changes we made. Now, you can see clearly again the point I have made consistently that at any point in time, politicians are interested in the procurement and what has to be bought and how much can be made of it. It's as simple as that. Because it's a pilot, for crying out loud. You don't scale it up. So we should have stuck to the 80 vehicles. Who took the decision to do 200 and something? Wow. And why would you take a loan to go and buy 200 and something when the infrastructure was not there? The main objective of the World Bank and their partners in this case was to build a framework, a regulatory framework that would allow the private sector, instead of using the low capacity vehicles, to use high capacity vehicles for public transport, especially into the CBD areas. And the BRT methodology was chosen because then that means that people from outside a designed area can drive their private cars, park, and join the bus rapid system into the dense CBD.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, we changed that one to the QBS, which lost those parks and all those things. For whatever reason, we don't know. It is in their report.
So, Mr. Tabedu,
cost escalated significantly.
So, Mr. Tabedu, in short, this was way more expensive than it was meant to be.
It has been, you see, because it started in 2008. So, because we don't plan projects well and deliver them on time, it keeps moving on.
Okay.
And they acknowledge that Ghana made a lot of changes to it as we moved on. And that is what has caused the project to stall. Because the funding is not there anymore to continue.
Wow. So this is just the beginning of this conversation. And like I said, we would continue tomorrow. We have to make time for the next conversation, which is just as important, on profit and progress. We'll be joined shortly by the IEA, ISE, Private Enterprise Foundation, and of course representatives here from the Multimedia Group. We'll take the so we'll take this important batch of messages and then we'll shift to the next part. But remember, the conversation on Ayalulu continues tomorrow. Stay with us.
It's the year of the car owner with Enterprise Insurance. Just dial *714*556#. Choose update your details, follow the prompts, and voila! You are in for surprises that will make your head swell big. Surprises like mobile data, useful car insurance tips, and many more. Remember, updating your details even helps to speed up the claims process. Car owner, this is your year. Insure with Enterprise. Dial *714*556# and update your details now.
Enterprise, your advantage.